Hi guys, Crafty Crystal here. Are you ready for your first project? These are called Fingerless Mitts, and these are made with a single crochet and your chain stitch. And you're going to learn a couple other things this time. You're going to learn how to make a slip stitch edging. You're going to learn how to increase single crochets and how to decrease single crochets. But this is all single crochet and a chain 3. Let's get started. So first, make your slip knot and crochet chain real loose now, very loose, looser than you usually do. Chain 12, okay? Very loosely. Remember to hold the stitch you just made when you pull it, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. Now, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to come into the back hump of the second chain from my hook. Pull up a loop and pull it through. Now this part is normal. We're going to go ahead and do that all the way down, just like you started your last single stitch. So we're going to go down 2, 3, 4, 5, oops, 6, 7. Now if you find it hard to get into the back of these, 8, you're going to have to go back and take it out and make your chain looser. 10, 11, and 12. Okay, now you've got your little band. Okay? Now, chain 1 and turn. Okay, now see these loops here? I want you to go in the back of the one that belongs to the stitch you were on, just like we do normally, but we're going to go just in this back loop. And we're going to do single crochet all the way down. When you get to the end, go through the last full stitch you see on here on top. You should have 12 stitches, not counting the very last bump, because these two, remember, count as one. Okay, so you should see on top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, did you do that? Good. See, practice helps. Okay, now turn it away from chain 1, turn it away from you. And we're going to do the same thing, starting with the very first chain after the hook, right here, the one we came out of, and we're going to go through the back loops again. Just the back loops. Just like that. You're going to see something interesting start to happen, and you'll recognize that you've seen this on lots of crocheted things. Only now you're doing it. And the very last full one you see is the one you want. Chain 1 and turn. Now just to check it again, the one that you just came through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. You notice even I check and make sure when I put my hook back in that the feed line is towards me on my side. Okay, now we're going to do this back and forth for a while, but I'll show you what we end up with. If I'm going too fast for you, you can stop it or get ahead of me. Or if I'm going too slow for you, you can wait for me. Okay. At the end, see what we have here? We have a rib stitch. It's a rib stitch on both sides. See that? And it has good give to it, and it pops back in shape. See that? They use this for stretch rims on gloves and on hats. Okay, we have, so far I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 rows. My sides are straight. I still have 12 stitches along here. And if you look at the very first row you made in the back, it looks like a rib, just like all the others do. But that's your first stitch, so to count it best, you want to count from the second row. So that's automatically 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I've got 10 rows so far. Now, when you're doing the very end of each row, and you come into your last stitch, this little stitch here is going to make the hole in the end of your row. And that's the part that you're going to avoid when you come back in the next step and we make a line across here. We don't want to get these little holes. These will louse up your count. Now each end has holes in different spots. Usually down here in the crack part, the back part. Okay? When you come back, you're going to be using this stitch right here, avoiding that one, getting this one, getting this one, avoiding that one. So you have 1, 2, skip, 1, 2, skip, 1, 2, skip, and then you'll be doing this one right here on the very end. Okay? You need to look at what you're making and what it looks like. How's it put together? As you do stitches and you learn different patterns, your work is going to look different. You're going to have different things to look for and to watch out for. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make as many rows as we need to go around your wrist. You want it to come down so that both ends on the cuff end meet together. I will probably need 22 rows. You might need 20 rows. You might be making this for a man that has bigger arms or hands, and you'll need 24 rows. For nobody, I don't think for anybody you'll need more than 24. I really don't, unless they have huge hands. Okay, so go ahead and go back and forth, and okay, I still make sure that my line comes from the front of my loop. And remember, when you go back, you're not getting this part of this very first stitch. It's kind of hard. You got to turn it over, push this aside to get that little back stitch for your very first stitch. And the rest comes easy. You just follow along and back. Okay, so go on and stop at 20 rows and see how it fits. And if you, like me, and you need 22, you go ahead and make your next 2 rows. And come back when you've got it so that it fits comfortably around your arm, okay? And we'll go to the next step. Something else I'd like to mention. If you find out that your hands are starting to hurt, 2 reasons. One, you're not used to it enough yet and you're cramping a little. The other reason is you're getting a little more anxious and you're holding your hook harder. That will give you a hand cramp. If you start cramping up and tensing up, you're going to make your stitches a little bit tighter. And if you do that, even though you have your full 12 stitches across, it's going to start toeing in a little bit. And it'll be because your stitches are actually tighter than they should be. So if you find out that you have rows that are getting narrower, but you have the same number of stitches, go back and take it out, relax, and wait a couple hours and go back and try it again, and concentrate on keeping your stitches nice and comfortably loose. You'll have a really nice looking product when you're done. Early crocheters, even people who've been crocheting a long time, after you do it for a while, your hands will start to get sore. Your muscles in here, sometimes your muscles along the back of here, depending on how you hold your hook. So I'm getting pretty far gone on mine. I've got several rows here. I've got a few more to go. So check your sides, check how big your stitches are, relax your hands, relax and enjoy it. Don't start tensing up, okay? All right. Okay, I've got 22 rows, and I've determined this is the length I need. I'll show you in a minute. And when I stop here at the end, I'm going to chain 1 like I would if I was turning, but I'm going to hold on to this loop, I'm going to hold on to this, and I'm going to pull until I tighten this stitch here. This would be the height of your single crochet, and you don't want a height on your single crochet, but you want a definite end to your line. So you want to tighten that one, because when you start back, when we sew this together, you're going to be using this loop. This is your 12th loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And you don't want to get confused and use this one. So we're tightening it up, okay? Like that. See? We hardly see it now, like a little knot. Okay, now you're going to have this back on the side that you sew with. So you're going to turn it over, like you're coming back, okay? And this should be fitting around here nicely. So it closes here. It will be looser at this side because your wrist is narrower, but this is the side that you need to make sure it fits. Okay, so take the side that your hook goes in and lift it up like that and bring the back up. So you have it laying down here with the side that your hook goes in, okay, and you're going to lift that up. See how I did that? You lift it towards you so that it's laying on the other side. Okay? Now we're going to take this and we're going to lift the back up to our front. Okay. Now we've got our little knot here so we won't lose what hole that is. We're going to go through the back of our loop just like we have been. We're going to go across here. Come back here, you. Across here, and we're going to go to the very back loop here. And this is the whole reason why we went through the humps. So we would have these two back stitches here. See what I'm doing? That's called a slip stitch seam. You go through this back loop. We go through the back loop on the other side. We get our yarn and we pull it through the back loop, through the front loop, and through the loop on our hook. Through the back loop on our front piece, through the back loop on our back piece, and pull through both of those loops and the loop on our hook. So back, back, take the loop, pull it through both of those back loops and through the loop on our hook. And make sure you keep this loose. You don't want to tighten it up or you're going to get a pucker on the side here where it pulls it in. So to make it loose, we're going to go through here, going to go through here, and you pull this through. Don't hold it tight. Make sure your skein is loose. And when you pull it through, you push it all the way up the neck. So it's, get out of there, you. The little tail's giving me trouble over there. So through there, pull it through, push. Through there, pull it through, push. And that'll make sure that you have a nice loose slip stitch. Now there's times when you want a tighter slip stitch because you want to make something smaller or stronger, like the edge of a pocket. Pockets crocheted pockets especially, tend to sag after a while. So you want a nice strong edge and you make a tight single slip stitch on the edge. Here's my last two. I've got my very last one here on top, my very last one here on top, We're going to pull it through, and double check and make sure that it's not puckering, not pulling in. Okay, now pull your thread through, and you got your front, so you hold your front, and you pull it back through until it pulls nice and tight. Okay, now before we do that, we're going to get rid of this guy because he's going to drive you nuts, this guy here. So we're going to get a darning needle. This is a darning needle. It's kind of blunty on one end, and it's got a nice wide hole in it for putting yarn in. Now when I first started crocheting, nobody told me how to do the darning needle, and I'm over here trying to stick all the little fluffy ends in through this hole. That doesn't always work, but this works every time. So watch. You take your darning needle and you take the thin part of it. I think for this I'm really going to go up here. This just makes it so easy. You take the darning needle and you take the edge of it and stick your yarn over the edge like that. See how it's squeezed there? You turn it sideways and you just push that yarn up through the edge like that. You can practically do it without looking at it once you get used to this. You stretch it over the edge, squeeze it, slide your needle out, and turn it sideways and push that right back up through there. It doesn't matter if it's fuzzy on the end. It doesn't matter if it's started to split on the end. It won't give you trouble going in here. Okay? Now, for sewing it in, let's turn it over. You want to do this on the inside where it's not going to be seen, or actually, come to think of it, our seam's on the outside. It's going to be out here. Let's put it out here. This seam part will be on the inside of your cuff. So, right next to this fellow, we're going to go down in this stitch and see these little, the way these stitches, you have your stitches coming down like this. See that? We're going to be behind those. I'm going to sneak behind them all the way down. Oh, excuse me. And we're going to go through about 4 stitches. Pull it through. Make sure that it's not tight. And we're going to, you can either go back 1 stitch this direction or 1 stitch this direction. But you want to have a stitch for it to go around so it doesn't just pull back on itself. So now we're going to sneak back down there behind these stitches, and when you do it, just kind of circle your little needle down there, itch them down. Make sure they don't go in front. Okay. See, you can't see the needle in front. And what this does is it captures some of those same threads on the way down that you had on the way out. Okay, see, I held my little loop here with my thumb. First thing I'm going to do is pull this out loose again, and then I'm going to pull this just until that end disappears. You don't want it to be obvious, and you don't want it to pull your loop over. So it's really hard to see. There, see? totally invisible. I'm going to just cut that off. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay, now we're going to be working with the outside, and right now we have it inside out. And if you turn it this way, your thread's going to go through. So you take it where your loop is facing you on top, and you just pull your cup in backwards. See? Now out here we have the ridges. All the ridges look the same. Okay, now just like when we did our ridges and we went back in the same stitch we were in, we're going to do that here. So we're going to chain one, and we're going to go back in the stitch. In the stitch, Chris, not around it. Okay. And back down in this same stitch. In this case, you can go in the hole beside it. We're starting out. You won't be counting this hole normally, so we can use it. So there's our first stitch. We're going to put one in each row around. So we're going to be using this and this. So we go into here. And that counts for this row. That's one stitch for this row. Then we're going to go in here. And that makes one stitch for this row. We skip the hole. We go into the next line. That counts for that one. And we go into the next line, and that counts for the next row. We skip the hole, and we go to the next line that comes out, and that's for that row. And the next line. You do that all the way around. Skip the holes, go into the rows. All the way around. Skip the hole. So you have stitch, stitch, skip, stitch, stitch, skip. Okay? Now, this stitch here counted for this last row, and this stitch counts for this row. Look on the inside. This is this row, which is your very first row. This is this row, which is your second to last, and here's your very last row. You've got no hole in between. So we're going to go through that stitch. And then we're going to count our stitches. It really helps to count your stitches from where you're at backwards. Because if you do it frontwards, sometimes you can get confused. You start with the stitch that's going around the stitch you're on. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay, so I did it right. Now we're going to go into that first stitch, our first loop here. Now if you did 20 rows, you should have 20 stitches. If you did 24 rows, you'd have 24 stitches. I had 22 rows, so I have 22 stitches. Chain 1, and just like we did on the rows, except we're going to go through both stitches now. You come back into the same stitch you just came out of. See, this is the stitch we went in with our slip stitch. We're going to go back into that same stitch and do our first single. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. See how different this looks from what we did back here? Because we're going through both stitches. So you go on around and do one of these around. Make sure you don't tighten up on your hook. Make sure you don't tighten up on your thread. Make sure your thread is coming loose. If you have to pull a bunch out of your skein every once in a while and lay it down, do it that way. But do not let it pull. It changes your tension, and that changes the size of your stitch. Okay. I'm counting this as our second row. And we're going to be doing this all the way up. Now, this is our stitch here that we did our 2 singles in. That's our last stitch. And this is the stitch that leads up to it. So we're going to go in there. And we should have 22 stitches again. I should have 22 stitches. I have 23. Take one out. And it's that easy to change it. Okay? See? Not rocket science. And we're going in another direction now. We've got our nice rib for our cuff. Now we're going to make 5 more rows. You have 1, 2. We're going to make 5 more rows so that we have a total of 7. And then we're going to make it a little wider because we're coming from the wrist up to here. Well, let me come back down again. Let me lower this back down. There we go. Okay. We have the wrist here, and it gets wider here. So we're going to do 7 rows even, counting the 2 we just did, and then we're going to make bigger here, and here for the next 3 rows. So it'll come out here, and we'll have a place where we can make our thumb hole. Okay? So we're going to add 3 stitches, and come back when you have 7 rows. Okay, now we've reached 7 rows. A nice cuff. Our 7 rows going up our hand. And you see the seam? See the little bit difference of the seam here? They tend to wander because, as you notice, your rows wander. Okay? So we're going to increase for the next 3 rows, and when we do it, we're going to do it not in our starting stitch, but we're going to do it 1 stitch behind it. And the reason why that is, if we increase in front here, we're going to make that go even more crazy. By doing it in back of it, we're actually going to straighten it out a little. Okay? It's going to go straight here. So, this is our 7th. We're going to go on our 8th row and go around until you come to this stitch. This is the stitch we came out of. So this is going to be our increased stitch, okay? I'll see you back there. Okay, so here's the last. This is the stitch that I used to pull out my last one. This is the last stitch before my seam. So you go in and you make your single crochet, and then you're just going to go back in and make another single crochet. So you have 2 in that stitch. And now I should have 23 stitches. So, counting the one I came out, that's 1, 23. All right. Now we're going to do this again 2 more times. So you come around at the end of your 9th stitch. You're going to make 2 stitches in here. At the end of your 10th row, you're going to make 2 stitches in there. Okay? So come back when you get to your 10th row. I'll do the end of the 10th row with you again. Okay, this is my 10th row. I've increased 1, 2, and this is going to be my 3rd time. This is the stitch in front of my last stitch. We'll go in there with a 1 and a 2 and slip stitch. Okay, now see how that straightened it out? See there? Instead of going like that, and it's now going like that. If we had done it on this side, instead of going like that, it'd be going like that. It just straightens it out for us. Now you have a decision to make. So I want you to chain 1 and pull a long loop out. Okay, now here's your seam. Where do you want the seam on your hand? I particularly like mine right over here on just kind of like the back side of my little finger, right under there. Some people want it down their palm. Some people like it down the thumb side. Where do you want it? Okay, wherever you want it, we're going to go on the opposite. We're going to go find where our thumb is. If you want it down here, then it'll be pretty close to where your thumb goes. If you want it on the thumb side, it's going to be right where your thumb goes. Okay? I'm going to turn mine around. I'm going to put it just on the underside, not right on it, but just on the underside of the back finger. Okay? Now, because I want it there, okay, I'm going to take a piece of yarn and I'm going to go right here. My cat wants out and it's raining. He thinks the other door won't be raining outside. Okay. Now this is where one side of my thumb is going to be. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 stitches here. And I'm going to come through this one. pull that through. Okay. Now just because I did this before and I pulled out my stitches, I'm going to pull this through again. Well, I'm going to try to pull it through again. There we go. So it can get confusing whether you're on that stitch or not on that stitch. If you have the little round stitcher markers, you can stick those in here. Okay, now this is where we're going to miss on the next row. Now it doesn't matter whether your seam is here, 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 doesn't matter where it is, you have marked where you want your thumb at, okay? So I'm going to come back around here. Now I'll show you what happens when we get to where the thumb hole is. Okay, out of my light, baby. Now here's the stitch right before where we marked. We're going to make a single crochet there, and we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and make them kind of loose. You don't want tight chains. We're going to come over here. We can easily see because of this that this is not the chain we want to use, and we want to come over here and make a single crochet. Now see what we've done here? Okay, now go ahead and single crochet around. This is considered 1, okay? 1 row. Now, slip stitch, chain 1, go back into that same hole again, and now we're just going to crochet around to our hole, and we're going to go in the back humps again, just like we did on our beginning chain. So here's our 3 chains. I'm going to turn it over, go into that back hump. There we go. Back hump. Not really normally this hard. I'm trying to stay in camera. Okay. There we go. And the next one. And the next one. Now you can go through the side, but if you do, you're not going to have as nice a chain look along the edge of your hole. This kind of finishes the hole. Let me come back on the side, and away we go. Now we should actually end up with, we added 3 stitches, and we only subtracted 2, because we have 5, and we made 3 chains, so we only subtracted 2. Okay, so we should have 1 more than you did around the wrist. I should have 23. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Right on target. There we go. Now that's 2 rows, because our first row we count is the one that we made our hole in. Chain 1, and now what we're going to do is we're going to subtract a hole, and we're going to subtract it back here where we did our addings. We're going to subtract 1 hole. So going around, when you get to the end, I'll show you how to do a decrease. Okay? Okay. Excuse me. Okay, now here's my beginning stitch. Here's the one in front of it, and here's the one in front of that. So we're going to take and we're going to go do something real sneaky so you can't really tell it's there. We're going to sneak in the front loop only of this stitch. And we're going to twist our hook around, and we're going to sneak into the second stitch. Pull a loop through those 2 loops. Finish your single crochet, and you just decreased. I now have 22 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. There we have. Okay. Boy, you're learning a lot, aren't you? You learned how to make a rib stitch, how you single crochet. You learned how to go into the side of your rib stitch to start a new row. You learned how to slip stitch a seam together. You learned how to increase on single crochet and how to decrease. You're really getting on there. Now, how many rows you make, I'm going to work even now. How many rows you make beyond this depends on how far down you want your want it to go on your fingers. Some people want to have just enough so that it's, covers here. I like it to cover my fist knuckles, my big knuckles. So I like it about right here. Some people want it clear down to these knuckles. It depends on what you're comfortable with and how you like to wear it. You don't have to find a pair that fits you right. You're going to make them fit the way you want them to. Now, if you remember that the one with the hole in it is our first row after our increase, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and when you have it long enough, as long as you want it, you will write that down because you have to make another one of these. There's 2 in every set. So you will write down how many rows of ridges you made, and you will write down how many rows you made after the thumb hole. Now see, I want more. You might like it like that. I want more. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. So I'm going to make 5, and I'll look again. It should be about right there. When you got it where you want it, I'll show you how we'll do the last row. And you're going to see how to make a slip stitch into your finishing row. Okay? So join me back when you've got it the length you want it. And don't forget to write down how many rows you did. the final row. Okay, come back and slip stitch into my final row. I'm going to tighten that good. Now, first I'm going to check one more time, make sure that that's how long I want it. Let's take that out. I'm happy with that. Maybe one more. One more row. Since I changed my mind, I'll go back and loosen this stitch again. Do one more row. I'll be back. Okay, now I've got my final row. Slip stitch, and I'm going to pull that a little tighter than I normally do. And I want my slip stitch, I want my loop on my hook kind of loose. I'm going to go back into that same stitch and just pull it through like that. We're going through both sides, both stitches. Grab the hook, pull it through and through, just like we did when we were making our seam. Go in behind our thread, pull our loop up, and pull it to the loop on the hook. And just do that all around. And it makes a nice ending, a nice edging to your project. Through, grab it, pull it through, slide it up. Now, if you tried it on and it felt a little loose around your fingers and you wanted it tighter, you could make your slip stitch a little tighter. And you just do that by increasing the fingers where you hold your thread, or you can take and you can tug on it a little bit every time you make one. It'll make it just a little bit smaller. And you want just a little bit because you don't want to make it too small. Okay, now here's the first one we went into. I'm going to sneak into that one. Well, I'm going to try to sneak into that one. Get in there. There we go. There. Now we're going to cut it. And you want to take your end and hook it through so your end falls out the front of your loop. And I'm going to hold on to this because it's kind of short. And I'm going to pull this back till you pull it down. And then if you pull and feel, you feel the point when this thread pops through here to the back, almost through to the back. And you take this in and you hold this down here, and you just pull and pull and pull till it's real tight. And you're going to have a very, very small, almost not there knot. Okay? I need my needle again. This is crocheted out of the bags that you get your vegetables and fruits in. That's called plarn. Okay. So we load our needle. Now we want to go on the inside. So we're going to take and we're going to go down through here, down through in back of where the knot was. So you pull that knot even farther down inside, and now you can't see it and you can't feel it. And just like we did before, we have these little stitches, and we're going to sneak down in back of these stitches. I'm going to go down about 4 stitches. Hold where your knot was when you pull. So this is nice and not puckered. I'm going to turn around. You don't want to go back in the same hole. So I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to sneak along the same line I did when I went the first time. You know, just kind of wiggle and wind it around as you go. So you can try to catch the threads on the way back that you caught on the front. Make sure there's no puckering. Okay. Oops. It's not real obvious where it is. And you can't see it at all on the outside. Okay, that's what you want. And now, let's back off again. I have my glove. And you can leave it long like that. You can turn up the short cuff like that. You got your own fashion accessory. When it's cold and I'm outside, I like to tuck my fingertips inside mine like that. Okay, now write down how many rows you did on your cuff and write down how many rows you wanted from here. You can count from here and add 1 because you have the one that made this hole. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 plus 1 is 6. So you have 10 plus 6 is 16. And if you had less than me, write that down, because you want to make your other glove the same way. Okay? I think you should like that. You can make them for friends, family. And you're just starting to crochet and you're making your first projects. Not only that, but the first project you can give as a gift. How about that? Okay, now we still have a long way to go, but you've learned how to seam, you've learned how to rib stitch, you've learned how to increase when we increase 3 times to make this part. You learned how to decrease after we came back here. You learned how to slip stitch an edge. Look at all the things you can do now. And it only gets better. Okay, happy hooking, guys. I'll see you next time.